wanted to start off by saying congratulations on Cat Person, and I am so excited to be able to interview you because you were responsible for one of my favourite films over the last few years in Booksmart. So I want to say thank you so much for chatting to us on our show today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the compliment. I'm very flattered. What part of Australia are you in?
I'm in Gippsland, which is a country area just out of Melbourne.
Oh, cool. Amazing.
Well, I wanted to start off by asking a little bit about Cat Person. Of course, it's based on a short story that was published in a paper. When did your interest first peak up about this film, and how did that journey start for you?
I had read the story. I loved the story, and I was not sure how it could be adapted. I knew that someone would try because it's Hollywood, and everyone tries to adapt anything that becomes part of the zeitgeist in the way that this did. But I was not sure how it would work because the story was so intimate and internal that I thought, okay, someone's going to make a really small observational movie about this. It's going to be limited in its audience to women who see independent movies, and then it will kind of not have the same provocative impact that the story did. But actually, 2 years later, I read this adaptation that Michelle Ashford had written, and I realized that I'd completely underestimated what was possible with the story in terms of an adaptation. I read this full-fledged psychological thriller, merged with observational humor, which are two things that I love to make movies about. So it was like the perfect version of the way Michelle thought to externalize her internal fears and really immerse you in the experience of being a woman and constantly having the intrusive thoughts and fears sideswiping your daily life was just so well done in Michelle's script that I couldn't wait to direct it.
Definitely. And also, I think, as you mentioned there about the comedy that comes through in this as well, it's a film when you read the synopsis of it, you wouldn't expect there to be comedy in there, but it works really, really well. Was that something that attracted you to this because it did have that mixture of being psychological, but also a little bit of humor in there as well?
Definitely. I mean, I think funny woman in serious situation is like it's like a strike zone that I love to be in.
Yeah.
And I think most people in my life they use humor as a defense mechanism. They are funny people. They don't take themselves too seriously all the time. And those are the characters I like to watch because I can relate to them, and I think most people can. And I think, movies where women are in danger and they're not kind of like, they don't necessarily have the buoyancy of someone who's going to make a joke once in a while are movies where, like, I think they end up falling into tropes. Like, this is a victim. This woman takes herself seriously. Everything's super dire to her. Or this woman's a victim, or this woman's like avenging the wrongs that were done to her in this like humorless way. And those are not women that I know personally. So if I could like take the personally relatable girl from this story or a Booksmart adjacent person and plop her in the story, then I think it's just going to land with people, and that she's a person who is questioning whether she's wrong about her judgments, and that involves a lot of processing with your friends, and those conversations are really usually pretty funny. Like in life, if you're talking about a dating situation with a friend, you're probably making a lot of jokes about it, like, okay, well, I might get murdered tonight, so here's where I'll be. Both things are true. You're actually a little bit like, I'm kind of putting myself in a dangerous situation, and you're joking about murder. It's both things are happening,
Definitely. And of course, the other important key to this film as well, I felt, was the casting. You needed to find the perfect Margot, and I think you found that with Emilia Jones. Tell us a little bit about that journey to find the right Margot, considering that this story centers all around her.
Yeah, I mean, when you make an independent movie, people want to mitigate their investment, like their risk. So they're like, we need to get somebody that people know, and that's sort of like, independent movies often are playing this game of trying to get the most recognizable famous person with the most Instagram followers in their movie so that there's just a built-in like revenue stream with their fan base. And to me, that can be complicated because with a movie like this where Margot is the every girl, you need an actress who can disappear on a college campus. Like, yes, it's actress world and she's a beautiful ingenue, but also she needs to look like a college kid who could like exist in normal world for the purposes of watching the movie. And Amelia is that. She's grounded and she has substance to her, and she's not like interested in celebrity culture, so she's not a person you're constantly seeing in that tabloids. Like, she just kind of has a bit of an anonymity to her that enables her to disappear into roles like this. And when I saw Coda before it came out, I cast her off of just sort of seeing it out of Sundance and thought, like, she has such a star quality, but she's not too recognizable that people are going to bring baggage into the room when they watch the movie, because ultimately Margot's really complex. I think there's a certain type of actress where you would watch her interactions with Robert and think she was being deliberately manipulative. Like, if she's landing as some sort of like vain pretty girl, you're going to be like, well, she knows what she's doing. You know, people just project a lot, and I think there's still sexism in that too. So I just wanted to pick somebody who is like likable, neutral, believable, and then could completely carry a movie, which Amelia really could do. She's very one of a kind in that way.
Definitely. And talking about projecting as well, was it difficult to find the perfect Robert? Because, of course, there's many layers there to Robert, and some people are going to see Robert differently to other people depending on their own experiences with men like this. Was it difficult to find a Robert so that there is a bit of a question over what he is really like?
It was next to impossible. That was the much harder. It was the much harder role, and I don't say that to like dismiss how perfectly Amelia was cast as Margot, but the Robert role is a role about projection. So, as the director, my choice, I have to choose a person who fits that description, in my opinion, for the most number of audience members. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to say who's going to register as that guy to viewers the most, and it's so subjective. It's like there are not a lot of actors who can do what Nick can do in that way. You know, first of all, so you're sort of doing a pros and cons list. Like, what are the things that make him likable? What are the things that make him unlikable? And are the columns even enough that he can play all of these shades and really sell them? And so, you know, Nick can be very attractive, and then he can also be a 6'7" man with like giant hands that are the size of Amelia's face. You know, he's both. Like, he can both be like menacingly big or cute or nerdy, like he plays on TV. He can kind of like, he's a real chameleon in that way, and also he's one of those people for whom the energy radiating off of him transforms his look. When he's withdrawn and silent, you're much more aware of his size, and he's scary, and he stokes that fear in her and makes for a really vivid bad guy in her fantasy life of what could go wrong. But at the same time, he can be just so adorable too, as we all see on TV. So it was really hard to, I mean, there's no one else I can imagine in that role, and Nick was all those things, you know?
Definitely. Now, Susanna, I know we're running out of time very, very quickly, and I don't want to keep you over time, but but to finish off, what would you like to say to people who are about to head into the cinema to watch this very, very important film?
Well, thank you for saying that. I think, what would I like to say? I think, I don't want to say too much, but I do hope it's a movie that people talk about. I hope it's a movie that ends with a question mark and not a period for people. And that question, those questions about communication and how we interact and where do we go from here, I think are some of the most important questions we can be asking ourselves in this moment. So I would just say, you know, if there are men who think this is like a movie for women, it's not. It's a movie for everybody who wants to make a connection with somebody or has failed to make a connection with somebody.